The government of India has proposed to increase the total number of seats in the Lok Sabha. That's the latest news that's breaking here on News9. As per the Women's Reservation Amendment Bill, also known as a Constitution 131st Amendment Bill, the total number of Lok Sabha seats set to be increased to 850. Of these, 815 seats will be allocated to the states. 35 seats will be reserved for the union territories. The central government has shared the draft of the bill with the members of parliament or MPs. 3 bills are being introduced, one of which is for the constitution of a Delimitation Commission. The objective is to implement 1/3 or 33% reservation for women in the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies at the earliest, and to initiate fresh delimitation, redrawing of seats and electoral boundaries. The bill is set to be introduced by Law Minister Arjun Meghwal. Through this, certain provisions of the Constitution will be amended to allow seat distribution based on the current population. According to the data from the 2011 census, women's reservation will remain in force for 15 years. The reserved seats will rotate across different elections to ensure opportunities for women in all regions. That's the latest news that's breaking here on News9. We have our input editor Brijesh Pandey now joining us live from the newsroom with the latest. Brijesh, big move, massive move. All eyes now will be on those on the parliament session, even as opposition for it has already risen.
Well, absolutely. I think, News9 has accessed exclusive copy of the bill which is going to be tabled in the Lok Sabha. The fact is that now what we have know for sure is that the numbers of seats of Lok Sabha which are going to be directly elected from the states has been increased to 815. And apart from that, 35 MPs will be elected from the union territory, thereby taking the total number of Lok Sabha seats to 850. The government is saying that this reflects the new reality of India. But the fact of the matter is that, a couple of hours before, we saw Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin saying that if this is pushed through and if the number of seats is altered or tinkered in a way which suits north more than south, then they are in for a very long haul and they will agitate against this particular bill. So I think, this bill on one hand, while the government is saying that this is something which has been on the anvil for a long time, as it reflects or represents the new reality, it has caused a lot of tremors as far as down south is concerned. Krishna?
A lot of tremors down south, but the overall number over here, 850, those are the details that's emerging. This is the contents of that draft bill which will be debated in the parliament between the April 16th and the 18th, isn't it, Brijesh? That's what we are flashing on the screens at the moment, the contents of the draft bill, not the final bill.
Well, yes, we've been given to understand that this is what the bill in its entirety will be like. And the most important thing is that the number of seats has now risen to 850. These are the people, these are the, member of parliaments who will be elected directly from the states. And, the other 35 will be nominated. Now, it will be interesting to see which all states gets what, because this is going to be based on the current population figure. So, it will be very, very interesting to see whether it does upset the apple cart, the semblance of balance between the northern states and the southern states, because we've already seen southern chief ministers voicing their concerns and saying that, that they are not in favor of this particular bill because it will alter the power structure of the country in a big way. So it'll be very interesting to see, how this particular bill pans out. But yes, what we've been given to understand as, the exclusive copy access by News9 is that the number of member of parliament is going to be will rise to 815, which are going to be member of parliaments which are directly elected from the states, and 35 from union territories.
That's right, Brijesh, stay with us as we bring this breaking story. Contents of the draft of the bill: 815 seats to states, 35 to the union territories. This has been circulated among the MPs. That's what we understand. The central government has put this, and then there'll be a delimitation commission also is being proposed as part of the 3 bills that will be introduced here. Brijesh, and you're talking about the opposition. Even we had Revanth Reddy, Chief Minister of Telangana, speaking at the TV9 What India Thinks Today summit, voicing his opinions loud and clear about delimitation, the threat of delimitation, and how it could possibly unite all the varied South Indian state governments on one plank, because this will be a major power grab. That's how they will view it. But the government right now is pushing it through not because they want delimitation, but because they want women's reservation. And that becomes a very sticky issue to discuss, because if you're going to oppose this, it makes it seem as if you were opposed to implementing the women's reservation bill quickly.
Well, yes, the government feels that, anybody who is seen opposing this particular bill will be later on, will be seen as someone or a political party who is opposed to 33% women reservation bill. And the government knows that, politically women is like the biggest one block, which they constitute approximately 50% of the total electorate. So no political party would want to commit harakiri. But then, the Prime Minister today also, made an outreach to the Congress party. The Prime Minister met Arjun in the Parliament, and he requested the Congress party requested Mr. Khadge to voice his support, to lend his support in the women reservation bill. The opposition, it's very neatly demarcated. The government is saying that this is the need of the hour and it has to be implemented. Before this gets implemented, there has to be a delimitation exercise which has to be done, and only post that delimitation exercise, then a women reservation bill can be done. What the opposition is saying is that, if it has to be done post delimitation, then what is the point of discussing it in middle of a very crucial election which is being fought in the state of Tamil Nadu and also in West Bengal. So, there's back and forth as far as the opposition and the government is concerned. And it'll be interesting to see, how it pans out in the 3-day special session which has been called by the government on 16th, 17th and 18th of April. Krishna?
That's right. The 16th, 17th and 18th of April is when this is going to be discussed. So you can expect a fiery session of the Parliament when this gets discussed, isn't it, Brijesh? As if, we haven't had enough disruptions. This is going to be another major point of discontent within the Parliament. The bill being introduced by Law Minister Arjun Meghwal. There is going to be, the certain provisions of the constitutions will be amended to allow seat distribution based on the current population. That will be a big question, because the current population is the census 2011 data. How will that cut ice with the opposition? That's a big question. But for now, we'll leave it at that. Brijesh Pandey, our input editor there, joining us with that big breaking story. Thank you, Brijesh, for bringing us that update.